Hi, 7-3. Last week you got to learn about the origin of the United Nations and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. I'm not sure if you ended the week with a favorite of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, but my favorite is certainly the right to rest. If you have a tough day of hard work, you have the right to rest. You don't have to keep working. I love resting, but thinking about human rights makes me think about when I was a kid because I feel like I had a lot of work to do when I was a kid. I was going to school, and my siblings and I, we had to sweep the floor, set the table, clear the table, wash the dishes, dry the dishes. We also had to rake leaves in the fall and do some yard work. I wish I had known about human rights back then. Oh, but wait a second. I did some research, and those chores are not human rights violations. Nope. In fact, child labor refers to something more specific. Children in the world are engaged in paid and unpaid labor all the time, but a job for a child is different than the term child labor. Here's what child labor really means. Child labor refers to work done by children that are too young to work, or involves in hazardous activities that block their mental, physical, social, or educational development. So it's a job that's actually detrimental to their health. In least developed countries, so the UN calls LDCs, least developed countries, countries that are struggling. They have the lowest socioeconomic development. They have weaknesses in the areas of nutrition, education, literacy, and there's widespread poverty in these countries. And the hard truth is that a little over 1 in 4 children living in LDCs are engaged in child labor. That's because life is really hard in these countries. A lot of times there are not enough jobs, or there are jobs for the adults, but they don't pay enough. And so children that are working, that are engaged in child labor, even though that's a human rights violation and they shouldn't have to, they are working to help their family survive. So the Universal Declaration of Human Rights is against the idea of child labor. And in fact, the UN followed up on this idea in 1959 with the Declaration of Rights of the Child. And instead of working, the UN says that children should be given the right to receive an education that helps him or her develop his abilities, judgment, sense of moral and social responsibility, and to become a useful member of society. The Declaration of the Rights of the Child also say that instead of working, children should be brought up in a spirit of understanding, tolerance, friendship among peoples, peace, and universal brotherhood. So now you know why teachers are not only trying to get you to do your work in school, but also to treat each other well, because we all live in community with one another. I hope you enjoy this week. You'll learn more about child labor, what child labor is, and examples of child labor, and even learn how the UN is making an effort to end child labor. In addition to that, you'll see some examples of adults engaged in modern slavery, and you'll see how slavery doesn't just violate the right to not be enslaved by anyone, but it also violates many other human rights, like the right to move and the right to a fair wage, of course. You can talk to me anytime via Remind or email. You can come to my live teaching on Thursdays from 2 to 3 p.m. with the nickname Larson Social Studies. I look forward to hearing from you, and I hope you have a great week. Bye.